Hello, everyone. My name is Abby Trout. I'm the curriculum coordinator in CLA Career Services, and I'm very excited today to talk to our employer partner, Julia. Julia, if you would just start off by introducing yourself, tell us about your role, the organization that you work for, and maybe a brief day in the life, what that would look like.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Julia Sowada. So I work at an agency called People Incorporated Mental Health Services. My connection to the U of M is that I graduated with a bachelor's in communications from the U and then fell into the world of the nonprofit HR sphere. So in day in the life of talent acquisition specialist at People Incorporated, I am working with managers in regards to their staffing plans and then full cycle recruitment. So everything from job posting to interviews, talking to students on campuses and things, and onboarding folks to join our wonderful agency.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So many of our students who will be watching this chat are trying to get experience early on in their collegiate career. They might be sophomores, juniors, some of them will have had internships before, but many of them won't have.
Yeah.
And so, from your perspective, what are good ways that students can gain experience in order to explore their interests and gain experience early on?
Yeah. And so one thing I always like to note is creating a LinkedIn page early on. The reason I say early on in your career is because, you might not be ready for that job, the more formal job search, but you want to start following companies early to find out who's got the internship programs, who has cultures that is aligned with what you're looking for. And also it's an amazing way to start networking early on, so that maybe, as you're getting closer towards the end of college and looking at more of those lanes, you already have connections in your network that are available, as well as, outside of the internet. I always recommend trying things out on campus as far as getting involved with student groups, as well as, part-time jobs and work around the university or elsewhere. It's amazing how much I didn't know I wanted to go into HR until I was in a restaurant job, and the restaurant job I was helping train people. And then when I looked into that, then it ended up being, oh, that aligns really well with human resources. So really just getting your feet wet in whatever kind of realm, working with other people. So like I said, whether it be work related or connecting with people online or other student groups, I think those are all wonderful avenues to get started early in college.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, you spoke to it, the importance of thinking about in your part-time jobs, for those of you who have part-time job students, thinking about, all right, what elements of this do I like? Does that translate into something else? So that's so important. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
And thinking further about, again, sort of students earlier on in college, what do you think is the most important for students to keep in mind when communicating their experiences on a resume, on an application, or in a cover letter?
Yeah. So really, when I think about this question, I always come back to the answer of know your audience. So, there's different ways that you can flex your past experiences and your abilities and skills to, as far as to match as far as what that person is looking for. So I always say, do the research ahead of time on if you're trying to impress someone or you want to connect with someone and to add them to your network for now or for later or whatever your engagement in that conversation might be, do a little research, look at their LinkedIn page, read the job ad so you can flex as far as, oh my gosh, maybe I don't have any professional work experience that's related to this, but I was a part of these 3 student groups where I actually held very similar responsibilities to what this job entails. Also, another thing that I also recommend is back up, your claims with evidence. So anything like as far as numbers, so saying, oh, I presented in front of classes. Well, how big were those classes? How many students were you engaging? How many, you might be really good at learning technology systems. How many systems have you learned in the past? Those numbers can stand out because it gives them exact evidence of as far as what you're claiming. So it speaks volumes in regards to that credibility behind yourself. So you don't have the most professional, 10 years of professional experience behind you, but you've still got a lot to bring to the table. It's just figuring out how to communicate that to your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. The importance of thinking about everything that an applicant has,
Yeah.
and part-time jobs, student organizations, volunteer work, that kind of thing, and translating the goodness and the benefits and the skills that they gained in those different experiences, translating that into the keywords or
Yeah.
what the employer is really looking for is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And additionally, any other tips for students in how to gain valuable experience, especially from all of the applications you've seen in your work?
Yeah. I always recommend, as far as, be willing to try things. You never know what you're gonna like until you're in the water playing. So get your feet wet, try things out, because a lot of times, even in my own personal professional growth, you really don't know what's going to motivate you or what you're really interested in until you're really out there. And the way to do that is just to try and get involved in things. And as someone who's held, I actually am a boomerang back to my current employer, because I wanted to try a couple things out, and I realized what I was really passionate about was that community-based support for others. And so I came back to this role. So it's one of those things, if you're and there's never such, especially as you're starting out your career, there's no such thing as a dumb question. So don't be afraid to ask people. It's amazing how I have a lot of students who come up to me at events, and that sometimes they're not sure what questions to ask. I'm like, well, whatever you want to know, I'm happy to help. That's what we're here for. So also, when you have the chances to connect with recruiters or other professionals, in the fields that you might have interest in, don't be afraid to have those conversations and ask us questions, because we were in your shoes once. We totally understand how scary it can be. And it's so hard now with, it's great, there's so many different career opportunities and different paths you can take with different lanes of all sorts of things, and we're happy to help everyone try and figure it out together. That's what we're here for. So I always just say, start getting in there, start trying things, asking questions, and connecting with people. And it's a lot more fun then, because then you have a better idea of various things and can better target what your next step will be.
Absolutely. Yeah. All those many benefits of networking and connecting with people, and that it's really a conversation about what you're interested in and what was that person's experience and things like that. So yeah, absolutely. From your time as a student at the U of M, what were some of the benefits you found from the U of M's location in the heart of the Twin Cities? What were you able to take advantage of because of the University of Minnesota's location?
Yeah, so I love the University of Minnesota's location. I started my freshman year at Duluth, and I transferred down because I just felt like Minneapolis was a better fit for as far as being able to work and go to school. So I was able to hold multiple jobs throughout my career, or throughout my college time, and quite easily kind of lace it into my schedule, because it's just so convenient, and there's so much public transportation, and there's so many people around, there's lots to do and get involved in. So it was always easy to find, if I had a free weekend, whether it be like something volunteering, or I knew my schedule for the next semester wasn't super heavy with night classes, I could find an evening gig around campus or close to campus that I could get to. And as well as, I think the location just shows that it's such a variety of people that you meet, because it is kind of a center where everyone is drawn to and engaged. So people from, all over the Midwest and outside the Midwest and outside the United States. I've never been able to have such connection opportunities with people from such different backgrounds as myself. So it was an exciting time always, because I was always learning something new, connecting with new people, as well as being able to just continue on my own personal growth with as far as finding opportunities around to get involved with work, or just causes that I cared about.
Yes. That's great. And during this more virtual environment, this more COVID time that we're in right now, some students can really feel like it's hard to gain experience because organizations might not be offering internships,
Mhm.
or students may perceive that, whether that
Right.
is always true or not. Can you discuss other ways to gain experience? You mentioned some earlier,
Yeah.
but anything from research projects, volunteering, individual artistic projects, things like that.
Yeah. So I always kind of recommend as far as, doing, Google can be your best friend in the sense of if you're looking for volunteer opportunities or I know myself when I had some extra time, you could do like transcribing for commercials and things. And that's completely remote. They don't expect any experience. You just have to pass an assessment. So there's lots of companies are trying to think creatively on how to engage, the talent pool without being physically present. So there's a lot more remote based kind of opportunities that you can do for side gigs that I have discovered myself. And I think for the college base that I know that they're targeting for is another great avenue to just gain some sort of, lane of experience as well. And then as far as, volunteering, there are a lot of organizations, I would say, especially in my sphere of the nonprofit. So that's why I always recommend as far as doing some research online to, maybe companies or organizations that you're aware of, and then maybe I'm going to bring up LinkedIn again because I think it's very vital, especially in this virtual based environment, because everyone's more active these days on it too. So even if I've heard some folks say it's a dying trend, I'm like, nope, LinkedIn's here to stay, especially in the virtual realm, because that's and Facebook also. Companies are getting more active on other social media platforms too. So maybe start Googling as far as things that you'd maybe want to volunteer for if you're not ready to quite jump into that workforce, or because of your class schedule and you just want to still be involved with things, check out Facebook. And then, it's one of those things you find one company you like, and then, oh, well, who do they follow or who's related? LinkedIn and Facebook are both really good for that as far as finding rabbit holes to find other different opportunities, as well as the U of M too, their website, checking out what updates they might have to offer and career services to see what advice, because everyone I think is understanding that this is really different from what we've been in before. So we're all trying to figure out ways and creatively find solutions to help stay connected, to help each other still develop and grow and be involved. It's just being more creative and a little bit more, um, um, you know, persistent, I would say, in regards to those efforts, because I understand the internet is also big, but it can be your best friend right now to help you kind of navigate towards different things you might be interested in pursuing, whether it be internship, volunteering, or job-based.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though we're in a virtual environment right now for the foreseeable future, there's still ways
Right.
to
Yep.
gain experience and still ways to gain experience, even if you don't feel like you have much experience, or ways to dip your toes in the water and explore your interests, things like that. So yeah, thank you. Those are wonderful. Are you open to students contacting you? And if so, how could they best contact you?
Yeah, definitely. I, because of me being a recruiter, I'm on LinkedIn most of the time. So that's typically the platform I recommend for folks to reach out to me. And it's just Julia in space, Sowada, Julia Sowada. You type that in. I'm pretty sure I'm one of the only ones. So not hard to find.
That's great. Thank you for being a resource.
Yeah.
And does your organization currently have any opportunities available, either full-time, especially internship
Mhm.
positions, full or part-time, or other kinds of opportunities?
Yeah. So in regards to internships, we're kind of redefining what that looks like. So we don't have a ton of openings in that realm right this second. We're hoping spring of 2021 to have a better landscape for that, just because we are in direct services. So want to be mindful of that. But as far as part-time and full-time job opportunities, we, being an agency of 750 employees with various programs all over the metro, definitely, if you're comfortable with working directly with people and very safe, and we take all of the precautions, but definitely if ever interested in that, those jobs are open to, we have positions where you don't even need to be done with your college career. and just the requirement of having your high school diploma and wanting to help support people in a community-based services environment. So those are definitely opportunities to check out on our website if interested, but we definitely do have those.
It's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
And lastly, Julia, any other general words of advice or encouragement for students this fall?
Yeah, I would say, keep going. Nothing's permanent and it's always changing. So we definitely, this is, I, I work part-time at a coffee shop, and a lot of those, my coworkers are in that college realm right now. We're about to enter it. And I always say, it's an exciting time, enjoy it. It's very different than the experience that some of us had previously before you, but that also gives you an edge of you've gone through this incredibly odd time and managed a lot of different things and gained a lot of skills through it. So if anything, this is kind of in my mind a resume builder for itself of having to navigate this weird realm of the virtual kind of landscape. So I think it's definitely not going to be easy, but you're not alone in it, and we're all trying to work through it together, and nothing is permanent. And there will be days, so in the future where we'll be back to face-to-face interactions, and you can speak to how much you've grown through this period.
Oh, it's so true. Yes. Strange time, but it's a time where there's lots of opportunity to grow and showcase your interests and your skills, and really take that time to pause and also take action. So
Yeah.
that's great. Thank you so much, Julia, for your time. We really
Sure.
appreciate all of your wisdom.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.